While you were scrolling through headlines, trying to make sense of a world that no longer makes sense, while you were watching the news with tired eyes, wondering how everything unraveled so fast, something was moving beneath the surface of human history that no journalist could report, no analyst could predict, no government could contain. The ground is shaking, not just the earth, the foundations. The invisible pillars that have held systems, thrones, and empires in place for centuries are cracking from the inside out. And if you have any spiritual perception left after the noise has numbed you, you can feel it. Something has shifted. Something has shifted in the heavens. Something has shifted in the earth. And nothing will ever go back to what it was. You thought it was politics. You watched the maps redraw themselves in real time. You watched ancient lands become battlefields again. You saw alliances fracture overnight, partnerships that took decades to build, dissolving in a single season. You thought it was economics. You watched currencies wobble. You saw ordinary people, good people, working people, unable to keep up, systems straining at every joint. You thought it was coincidence, but heaven saw something else. Every war erupting in an ancient corridor, every political earthquake shaking a capital city, every economic tremor sending shockwaves through markets and families. These are not random events. These are signs. These are markers. These are the footprints of a God who moves in history with terrifying precision. This is not a coincidence. The God of the Bible is not the God of abstract theology. He is the God of Exodus. He watched 400 years of bondage, 400 years of a people ground down to nothing. And then he moved. With fire, with signs the most powerful empire on earth could not stop. Do you understand what 400 years means? It means there is a divine clock that ticks independently of human calendars. It means God makes promises that outlast empires, that outlast dynasties, that outlast every system built to crush them. When the 400 years is complete, he moves. The clock has struck. The prophet stood in a valley full of dry bones, the remnants of what had once been a living, powerful people, scattered, bleached, broken. God asked, "Can these bones live?" When you look at dry bones, the rational answer is no. Too late. Too much time has passed. But the prophet spoke, and the bones began to move. Sinew appeared, flesh returned, and then the breath of God entered the valley, and a great army stood on its feet. This is not ancient history. This is this moment. There is a people scattered across the earth right now, told their story is over, their identity irrelevant, their destiny buried. And heaven is releasing the breath again. The bones are moving. Watch the ancient lands. When the territories of old Persia and Babylon become epicenters of global tension, it is not simply resource competition or ideological conflict. Persia is the kingdom God used to end a captivity, the empire through which a decree went out. Let them go. Babylon is a system, an architecture of power built on the arrogance that says, "We will never fall." And then the writing appeared on the wall, in the middle of a feast, in the middle of celebration, and the kingdom fell before morning. You have been weighed, you have been measured, you have been found wanting. Systems that believed themselves eternal are receiving their verdict. The writing is on the wall. History is not moving at its normal pace. Events that would unfold across decades are compressing into months. Shifts that would take generations are appearing overnight. This is why people feel disoriented. This is why the most analytically gifted observers are consistently caught off guard. They are tracking surface movements while the real action happens in realms they have no instruments to measure. Nations are shaking. Not one nation, all nations. The shaking is not punishment. The shaking is preparation. It separates what is genuine from what is counterfeit, what has depth from what is merely decorative. And right now, sand structures are collapsing everywhere you look. This is not random. There is a people who are beginning to remember, scattered, their heritage deliberately obscured, their identity systematically dismantled over centuries. They were told to assimilate, to disappear, to let the old covenants dissolve. But you cannot undo a divine covenant with cultural pressure. Something is stirring in this people that they cannot fully explain. A hunger, a resonance with ancient things, a sense that the story they were told about themselves was never the whole story. The dry bones are rising, identities are being restored, covenants are being remembered. This is the moment the prophets strain to see. This is not a coincidence. You are not reading this by accident. There is a part of you beneath all the noise, beneath the layers of doubt and disappointment, a part that has been waiting for someone to say out loud what you have felt in your spirit. You were not born in this generation by coincidence. You were placed here, positioned here, called here, with full awareness of the pressure you would face, the confusion you would feel. And He placed you here because you carry something this moment needs. Do not let fear be the final word. The Exodus was preceded by the deepest darkness Egypt had ever known. The dry bones were surrounded by absolute desolation before the breath came. The writing on the wall fell in the darkest hour, and at dawn the captive people began their journey home. The darkest hour has never been the ending in the divine narrative. It has always been the threshold. This is your moment, the one your gifts were calibrated for, the one your story, with all its wounds and wanderings, has been quietly preparing you for. Rise, not in arrogance, in identity. The nations are shaking, the ancient lands are stirring, the hidden people are awakening, and heaven is watching to see who will rise. This is not a coincidence. This is not random. This is the moment. Something has shifted, and so must you.